At an elite, members-only club, a waitress locked the service door behind me and whispered, "Promise you won't pass out." Then showed me the overhead security footage from our table. My husband slipping pills into my 12-year-old son's pocket and signaling security like he meant to have him caught before the check arrived. I'm Tobin's mother, Galen Marrowgate's wife, and I have a past with pills the right report can weaponize. The timestamp is there in cold digits, Galen's hand, Tobin's jacket pocket. Through the door crack, I see security closing in, calm, rehearsed. Then I see what matters even more than the pills. Galen looks up afterward, like he's confirming the timing with someone else in the room. My thumb hovers over share. If I detonate him, my son becomes the story. If I stay quiet, the report does. And I have seconds to choose who he's really trying to destroy. The corridor is clean in the way expensive places clean. Nothing left to confess. Creamstone walls, brass sconces, a soundproof door with brushed metal hardware. Everything designed to make panic feel like a policy violation. Anouk stands close enough that I can smell citrus sanitizer on her hands. Her phone is still up between us like a prayer we don't believe in. Through the crack under the door, I hear chairs shift. Soft, controlled. The kind of movement that doesn't need a badge. I swallow. Slow. My history taught me the trick. Hold still, and they call you stable. My thumb rubs the gold band once, then stop. Anouk's warm brown eyes flick to the ceiling corner where the cameras live, then back to me. Like she's silently asking if I understand what she just handed me. I do, and it still doesn't feel real. Earlier that evening, when the white tablecloth first touched my wrist, I was still pretending this was just dinner. Galen had chosen the club because it sounded like virtue. Discreet, members only, safe. He sat in his charcoal suit like the room belonged to him by natural law. Oblong rectangular face, strong squared jaw, dark hazel eyes steady under neatly groomed brows. Dark brown hair perfectly controlled. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't have to. The table did it for him. Crystal, heavy silver, low amber lamplight making everything look warmer than it was. Tobin sat beside me in his dark bomber jacket, long-limbed and trying to look older than 12. Thick, dark brown hair that never stayed perfect, eyes tracking the adults the way kids do when they sense rules shifting. He kept one hand near his jacket pocket. Habit. Comfort. Galen's hand found Tobin's shoulder. Brief, camera ready. Not comfort. Placement. Ione, Galen said, and my name sounded like a cue. Let him tell you about school. There was a second where my instincts nudged me. Leave, take Tobin home, call it an early night. Normal can make you careless. I wanted our son to have one evening where he wasn't the afterthought to a campaign calendar. I wanted the staff to see a family, not a headline waiting to hatch. Anouk approached then, black fitted vest, crisp white button-down, near black hair pinned into a tight service bun with 2 curls escaping at her temples. She did the practice smile, eyes trained to flicker away from members. I didn't let mine slide past her. Thank you, I said, and meant it. A small thing. The kind of small thing people remember because most don't bother. Galen watched the exchange without blinking, like it belonged on a record. And then I saw his tell. One precise cuff adjustment, the smallest nod toward the side aisle where his security chief lingered as a shadow in a suit. Nothing dramatic. Just a man moving pieces without lifting his hands off the table. Of course. Power rarely announces itself. it makes small arrangements. Now, with Anouk's phone glowing between us, I feel the cost of that earlier decision in my teeth. I chose normal, and Galen used it to build a story where I'm the unstable one. If I step back into that dining room, what version of me are they already recording? The door opens into the dining room. Perfume, butter, and that thin metallic edge of fear. Barely there until you know it. Warm amber lamps make everyone look kinder than they are. Two suited men with earpieces appear beside our table with the softness of staff and the authority of police. The club head of security stands with them, posture polite, eyes already committed. Tobin is half standing, bomber jacket unzipped, confusion bright in his eyes. He searches for me first. Good. Then he sees his father's calm, and his face rearranges itself into, okay. Children learn that expression early. Galen doesn't. Move fast. He doesn't need to. His hand drifts to Tobin's shoulder again. Public tenderness, private grip. He looks up at the club head of security as if they're colleagues. There's a liability protocol, the head of security says. Not to me, to the air. Minor, controlled substances, members present. Galen nods, almost grateful. The kind of man who can turn a threat into a talking point without changing his tone. I step toward Tobin. The suited security man pivots, not aggressive, just positioned. A quiet block. His body says procedure. I don't raise my voice. I'm his mother. The club head of security gives a small, apologetic smile. Policy wearing a human face. Of course, ma'am. We'll handle this discreetly. Discreetly. In Los Angeles, that word means without witnesses who matter. I see it then. This is not about finding pills. This is about being able to say later that they did. This isn't a bust. It's a paper trail meant to make me look unfit. And Galen knows exactly which rooms still hear clean as temporarily stable. They guide Tobin away. 2 steps, 3, toward a corridor that leads to the security office. His sneakers squeak once against the floor, a small, humiliating sound in a room designed for silence. He looks back at me, trying to decide whether he's in trouble. I keep my face calm. I give him the tiniest nod. I'm here. Follow me with your eyes. Galen turns slightly, just enough for me to see the restraint in his half-smile. He doesn't look triumphant. He looks prepared. A bitter thought settles in, anchored to the white linen and the low amber lamps. He picked this club because even a family crisis can be handled quietly. As we move, I catch a glimpse of a clipboard in the security man's hand. White paper, bold header, lines waiting. The form is already a story, and I can practically hear where my name will fit. I keep walking. I keep my shoulders squared. The hardest part of being clean isn't refusing the thing you used to take. It's refusing the identity people want to hand back to you. Anouk's fingers tighten on the phone until her knuckles pale under warm medium brown skin. Light skin with faint freckles, pores visible in the sconce light. Her mouth opens, closes. Then she forces the words out carefully. Promise you won't pass out, she whispers. The door clicks. The corridor seals. Creamstone, brass light, paid-for silence. She tilts the screen toward me. Overhead security footage, time-stamped. White tablecloth. Galen's charcoal sleeve. My son's bomber jacket pocket. I watch Galen's hand place the pills like it's a casual touch, like it's fatherhood. Then I watch his eyes lift, not to me, not to Tobin, to the side aisle. A small nod, a signal. And seconds later, security appears in frame. It isn't just what he did. It's the timing. He wanted it discovered while witnesses were still seated, while the room was full of concern. I blink, and the frame might as well be only Tobin, 12 years old in the corner of the overhead shot, shoulders trying to be brave, trusting the adults because he doesn't know adults can be bought the way tables are reserved. I feel something rise in my throat. Old panic, old shame. The body remembering its former stories. I don't let it show. I keep my face still, controlled, competent, the woman people will believe, if I give them no reason not to. Anouk glances up again, ceiling corner, camera placement, then back to me, urgent. She isn't a savior. She's a worker who just chose to become a problem for the kind of man who calls problems disorder. A dry thought cuts through me. The club is built to hide messes, until a mess threatens a powerful man. Then it gets renamed policy. My thumb hovers over the share icon. This is the fork. If I send it, I might stop his run. Might. But Tobin becomes the kid with pills on camera, forever searchable, forever discussed. If I don't, I can still cut my son out of this quietly, if I move fast enough to keep the paperwork from hardening into truth. By then it's simple. I can be right in public, or I can keep my child out of the story. I lock my jaw. I lower the phone. I slip it into my clutch with my wedding ring flashing once, like a seal. Then I look at Anouk. Stay here, I say softly. If anyone asks, you never saw me. She flinches at the lie she'll have to live inside. Then she nods. I put my hand on the brushed metal lever and open the corridor door. Not rushing, not trembling. Because the first thing Galen is trying to steal tonight isn't custody. It's about the label that sticks. The security office is small, a quiet, glass-fronted space tucked behind the club's service spine. Pale stone desk, a leather chair positioned like an apology, and a camera dome in the corner that makes the air feel archived. Tobin steps in first, sneakers too loud on the polished floor. He's 12, long-limbed, gray-green eyes wide and trying to pretend they aren't. Freckles scatter across the bridge of his nose like he's still meant to be outside, not in here. His dark bomber jacket hangs half open, pocket line visible. Too visible now. I move with him, cream-soaked blouse under my camel coat, hair still pinned in that sleek low bun that passes for stability in certain rooms. Gold band. Face composed. Eyes steady. Galen enters last, unhurried, charcoal suit immaculate. He nods at the club head of security, and the nod looks like respect. The security chief moves the way staff move, on cue. His cufflinks catch the overhead light when he adjusts his cuff once. The tell returns, neat as punctuation. The club head of security speaks with rehearsed gentleness. We just need to document what was found and where. A suited security man places a clipboard on the stone desk. The paper is crisp. The header is bold. There's even a fountain pen, black lacquer, expensive enough to make this feel legitimate. In wealthy spaces, even panic gets a matching pen. I lean slightly forward, keeping my hand close to Tobin's elbow. Not gripping, anchoring. My son's gaze flicks to the clipboard, then to me. "What's happening?" he asks, small voice trying to sound casual. "You're not in trouble," I tell him, and I make sure my mouth softens when I say it. "They're being careful." Galen's expression shifts, barely. He crouches beside Tobin, one knee bending as if it hurts. His hand lands on Tobin's shoulder with a kind of fatherly weight that looks, for half a second, almost real. "You did nothing wrong," Galen says quietly. "We're handling it." Tobin's shoulders drop a fraction. Relief. Trust. And I feel the sickest part of it. Galen can comfort our child in the same breath he puts him at risk. That's the sort of complexity people mistake for decency. The club head of security clicks a pen cap and begins to speak as if reading from a script. "Minor male. Substance located on person. Source unknown." On person. My fingers go still in the edge of the desk. "Stop," I say, calm. "You don't know that. You don't know where it came from." The suited security man glances at Galen, not at me. Galen gives the smallest nod, permission to continue. The club head of security tries again, softer. "We're just noting facts." I slide the clipboard toward me without asking. The paper scrapes the stone, dry, loud in the quiet. I scan the lines. A phrase sits there like it's already been decided. Mother appeared distressed. Distressed. Not concerned, not protective. Distressed, the kind of word that follows a woman into court. I set the clipboard down flat and look up. Amend that language. I'm not distressed. I'm attentive. And you're not writing that the substance was on my child unless you have video of it being removed from his pocket. The room goes quiet. Galen's jaw flexes once, almost imperceptible. His eyes stay warm, the same warm he uses in public. He's watching to see if I'll crack into the version of me he's trying to document. I don't. I smooth my coat sleeve at the wrist, slow, deliberate, and keep it calm. "Bring me whatever you say you found, in a sealed bag, and I want a copy of anything you write before it leaves this room." The club head of security hesitates, then nods too quickly. "Of course, ma'am." Of course. The words rich people use when they've already decided what's reasonable. Tobin shifts beside me, hand drifting toward his jacket pocket, then stopping as if he remembers he's being watched. I cover his knuckles with my palm, 1 second, one squeeze, then let go so it doesn't look like panic. My eyes drop once more to the clipboard. If I can change a sentence, I can change the next month of our lives. I ask for a private word with the club head of security. Not permission, procedure. I keep it calm, my chin level, the way women in my bracket are trained to request mercy as if it's protocol. He leads me into a smaller office, same pale stone, softer lighting. The door closes with another quiet certainty. I pull my clutch to my hip and slide Anouk's phone out with 2 fingers. The screen has dimmed, but the frozen overhead image is still there. Timestamp, white tablecloth, my husband's hand at my son's pocket. I watch the club head of security's face as I wake the screen. The moment his eyes focus, his mouth tightens. He doesn't flinch at the child. He flinches at the liability. "You have a privacy problem," I tell him softly. "And I can show you why." His gaze flicks from the phone to me. "Ma'am, I'm not asking you to take my side." I keep my tone level. I'm asking you to protect your club from becoming a campaign instrument. That lands. Not because he cares about Tobin, because he cares about the word campaign entering the club's name. He leans in. The overhead footage plays. Galen's hand, the placement, the signal, the timing. The club head of security inhales once through his nose. That's concerning. Concerning. The safe word for this could ruin us. I tilt the phone slightly away, just enough to show him I'm controlling the view. Here's what happens next if this becomes a police report. A minor controlled substances and a member running for mayor. This turns into a circus that hurts your club and my child. He swallows. We keep things internal. Then make that true, I say. Amend the language. No on person, no mother distressed, and nothing leaves this building that implies origin. He hesitates. We still need an incident record. Record what you can prove, I answer. Substance discovered near our seating area. Source undetermined. Child cleared. The club head of security studies me like he's checking whether I'm bluffing. I hold still. My thumb taps the phone screen once, and I start a screen recording on my own phone, held low against my coat. A small red dot appears in the corner. The proof becomes mine in a way Galen can't take back. I make a copy and keep my face still. Not for attention, for leverage. He notices my other hand only after the recording has begun. His eyes narrow. You're keeping that. I'm keeping my son's future, I correct, still soft. He exhales, then finally nods. I'll amend the report, and I'll restrict access to it. It's a win, small and temporary. He adds, quieter, but your husband has his own security, his own counsel. If he wants a narrative trail, he doesn't need us. He can create one. That's the trick. Institutions don't restrain men like him. They accommodate them. I slide Anouk's phone back into my clutch. I need to return this, I say, and I make it sound like a courtesy, not a lifeline. As I leave, my reflection catches in the office glass, ring glinting. And for the first time tonight, I understand the real fight. It isn't about what happened. It's about who gets to write what it means. They release Tobin back to us with the kind of politeness that pretends nothing happened. No apology, just a soft, satisfied, all said. The club head of security's amended report disappears into a manila folder like a secret being filed, not corrected. Tobin walks between me and Galen, eyes down, shoulders pulled inward inside his bomber jacket. I keep my hand near the back of his elbow, close enough to guide, not close enough to show fear. Galen's phone buzzes as we reach the corridor that leads back toward the dining room. He glances down. Just a flash of screen, but I catch it because tonight I'm watching for anything that looks prepared. A message thread, names I don't recognize because they aren't meant for me. A draft block of text with bullet points. I catch the phrases before I can talk myself out of them. If asked, emphasize child safety. Family privacy. Concerned father, grateful to staff. And then, the line that turns my stomach cold. Source close to the family. Concern about mother's history. History. Not relapse, not evidence. History. The word that does the dirty work without touching it. Galen notices my eyes on his screen and tilts it away with the smallest motion, still smiling like a husband. Ione, he says quietly, as if we're discussing dessert. Let's not make tonight worse than it needs to be. There it is. The offer disguised as compassion. Cooperate, and he'll keep the blade sheathed. My bare ring finger would have been easier. I adjust it once, an unconscious mirror of his cuff. The body keeps score in gestures. A question slips into my mind, simple and brutal. If the only way to win is to turn your child into proof, is that winning or just surviving loudly? Tobin looks up at Galen. Can we go home? Galen's face softens, enough to fool most people. He nods, warm. Yes. We're going home. He guides Tobin forward with a hand at his shoulder. Father of the Year. And for a split second, I can see exactly how this will look from the outside. A composed man protecting his family from an unstable environment. He doesn't need a judge tonight. He needs an audience later. Galen isn't trying to prove I've failed. He's trying to make other people feel it's responsible to doubt me. And doubt is all he needs. As we pass the dining room, the amber light makes our table look untouched, like none of this ever happened. Crystal glasses still gleam. Linen still lies smooth. Money's greatest talent is erasing mess without cleaning it. Galen pockets his phone. His cuff catches the light again. He's already rehearsing his concern. I keep walking with Tobin. In my clutch, the copied footage sits heavy in my phone. Not a bomb, a wire. Something you can cut the right way, if your hand doesn't slip. By morning, my house looks exactly the way it's supposed to. High ceilings, pale wood floors, glass that turns Los Angeles daylight into something soft and flattering. A home that whispers stable even when the people inside it are splitting. Tobin sleeps on the sofa for an hour, then wanders to the kitchen in sock feet. Quiet. I watch him pour cereal like he's trying to reset the world with routine. I don't mention the pills. I don't mention the word security. I let him be 12. When he's distracted by the TV volume, cartoons low, I take my phone into the hallway where the light is colder and call my attorney, role only, and ask for a meeting. The office is all glass and restraint. A conference table that looks like it could be disinfected with one wipe. A framed skyline photo that makes the city look orderly. I sit with my camel coat folded over my lap, cream silk blouse still crisp, wedding ring still on. My attorney watches the screen recording of the overhead footage on my phone. Galen's hand, Tobin's pocket, timestamp, then looks up slowly. What you have, my attorney says, careful, is powerful. But custody is not a morality contest. It's optics, stability, paper. I nod. Once. He's already writing the paper. My attorney slides a legal pad toward me. 2 columns, 2 doors. Door 1. Publish the footage. Go public. Let the city see what kind of man their future mayor is. Door 2. Use it privately. Force a settlement that protects Tobin, restricts narratives, walls off your past from becoming a weapon. My attorney doesn't say addiction, doesn't say relapse, just gestures to an invisible headline and lets the number land anyway. I've been clean 5 years. Even if you're believed, my attorney adds, your son becomes the story. I stare at the glass table and the reflection of my hand. Another question lands, quieter than the first. How much truth does a child have to carry just so adults can feel righteous? I pick up the pen my attorney offers. The nib is smooth. Too smooth. I write my non-negotiables in block letters. Tobin, school, privacy. No emergency filings based on incident. Boundaries on. Medical disclosure. My attorney nods, approving, and begins outlining the structure. Custody framework, resources, non-disparagement, privacy clauses that protect the child, not the man. It isn't justice. It's a fence, built to hold until he gets bored. Then my phone buzzes. One message from Galen. His text is short, polished. His message is calm enough to pass as kindness. Let's handle this privately. If you force it public, I'll have to respond. I don't need him to spell out what respond means. I saw the draft. I saw the word history. I set the phone down and looked through the glass wall at the city beyond. Sunlit, indifferent. Los Angeles has always loved men who look safe on camera. My attorney waits. I exhale once, slow, and nod toward the legal pad. Draft it, I say, and make it child first. If he wants a story, he can have one. Just not my son's. That's the entanglement. I'm choosing the quiet route with my eyes open. And Galen is telling me, politely, that quiet only lasts as long as I obey. The next message comes before I've even put my keys away. I'm back home, in a hallway that smells faintly of lemon cleaner and money. The house is quiet in that curated way. High ceilings, pale wood floors, sunlight softened by expensive glass. My phone buzzes on the marble console near the front door. The screen lights up with an unknown number. The message is brief. Sources will talk if forced. Protect your child. Handle it privately. No name, no signature. Just a sentence designed to sound like advice while it tightens a collar. I stare at the message until the glow starts to hurt. My eyes catch my reflection in the black screen. Long oval face, high cheekbones, faint freckles. Mouth goes still. Dark blonde/light ash brown hair still pinned in a sleek low bun, even though I'm not going anywhere. Habit. Armor. Tobin pads into the hallway in sock feet, dark. Bomber jacket already on even though it's warm outside. He's 12 and trying to act older than his body will allow. Freckles across his nose. Thick, dark brown hair that refuses to lie flat. He stops when he sees my face. Mom? He says carefully. Am I in trouble? I keep my posture still. I don't let my shoulders rise. No. He studies me with that child logic that's sharper than any adult negotiation. Then why did Dad look happy when they took me? That question lands hard because it's small. Because it isn't legal. Because there's no clause for it. I inhale through my nose and taste metal. 5 years clean means I know exactly what panic wants from me. It wants movement. It wants noise. It wants an apology I don't owe. I kneel and set my hand lightly on his forearm. My camel coat drapes around my knees like a stage curtain. Your dad wasn't happy, I say, and I keep my voice calm enough to be believable. He was performing. Tobin frowns. Performing for who? I don't answer. I just smooth his collar. Not without turning my son into the kind of adult who scans rooms for cameras. My phone vibrates again. Another notification. Not a message this time. A preview of a drafted statement forwarded by someone I don't recognize. Subject line clipped. Family privacy/child safety. So it begins. A trial balloon. Something that can be denied later while it does its job now. A dry thought slips in, anchored to the marble under my hand. In rich homes, the stone is real and the remorse is optional. I stand. I smooth Tobin's jacket collar with 2 fingers, one motherly gesture that feels like a lie. Go finish breakfast, I tell him. I'll handle the grown-up part. He hesitates, then nods and walks away. When the hallway is empty, I look down at the unknown number again. The warning wasn't meant to help me. It was meant to remind me that if I push, the city will hear my past before it hears my proof. The conference room they choose is not at my attorney's office. It's neutral territory. Glass walls, dark wood table, a view of Los Angeles that looks calm from above. There's still water in heavy crystal glasses, untouched. Nobody drinks. Everyone wants their hands free. Galen arrives in the same charcoal suit that made the club feel inevitable. Early 40s to mid-40s, oblong rectangular face, squared jaw, dark hazel eyes steady, dark brown hair controlled. He gives me a small smile as if we're here to fix a scheduling conflict. I sit opposite in my camel coat and cream-soaked blouse, hair still in that sleek low bun because I refuse to look unraveled in a room designed to measure women by their edges. Wedding ring still on. Not for him. For the people who make assumptions when it's missing. My attorney is beside me. My attorney, role only. A quiet presence with a legal pad. Galen has counsel too, role only, unnamed, polished like a doorknob. The first draft slides across the table in a thin folder. Custody language, resources, privacy clauses. Words that pretend they're neutral. Galen speaks softly. I want Tobin protected. I want you protected. Protected? From who exactly? I open my phone with one thumb and set it on the table. Screen angled so only Galen can see. Not the full video. Just the frozen frame. Timestamp. His hand. Tobin's pocket. His eyes flick down, then up. A single blink. That's all the reaction he allows himself. You were recording, he says, tone unchanged. I was surviving, I answer. For the first time, he drops the half smile. Not anger, calculation. He studies the image the way he studies polls. What does it do? Who does it move? How fast can it be contained? He leans back and folds his hands. If you release that, he says quietly, you hurt our son. There's no denial, no outrage. He goes straight to the only argument that matters. My mouth tightens. You hurt our son. His jaw flexes once. I kept him safe from a public spectacle. He says it like it's reasonable. He's not claiming innocence. He's claiming managerial competence. A crystal glass near his hand catches light and stays untouched. Perfect. Intact. That's the point of rooms like this. Everything looks fine while something is being traded. Galen slides a revised offer forward. Primary stability, he says, as if reading from a script that lives in his spine. The best schools, the best support. No press, no chaos. And then, Like it's generosity, he adds, "I'll make sure your history doesn't become a headline." He says history the way other men say weather. Something unfortunate that must be managed. A cold question rises and stays there. If someone can control your reputation like a faucet, what were you to them? Wife or risk? I look down at the folder and point to a clause with my nail. Child first privacy, I say. Boundaries on disclosure. No emergency filings based on incidents. And if anyone leaks anything about me, Tobin, or his school, the agreement becomes void. Galen's eyes narrow slightly. You're threatening me. I'm describing consequences. I correct. For a moment, his expression softens. Not enough to be kind, just enough to seem human. Ione, he says low. I don't want to destroy you. He says it gently. That's what makes it worse. He'd rather own me than ruin me. And that's the grief. The tenderness he offers is the same shape as the cage. The final draft comes 2 days later, delivered the way expensive bad news always is, in a thin folder, carried by someone who never looks up. I sit at my attorney's glass table again. The skyline photo on the wall is still trying to make Los Angeles look orderly. The pages in front of me do not. Custody framework, privacy boundaries, non-disparagement. Silence clauses written in clean language that pretends it's mutual. My phone rests face down beside the folder. The copied footage is still there, file tucked away, not sent, not deleted. Proof doesn't go away. It just sits there. My attorney points to the child protection provisions. These are strong, they say. This is as close as we get to a fence. A barrier, nothing more. A fence to keep wolves on the other side of a child's sleep. I pick up the pen. My hand doesn't shake. It just signs. Before I sign, I slide my wedding ring off. It's a small motion, almost quiet enough to miss. The gold circle leaves a pale indentation on my finger. I set it on the glass table, and it makes a soft, final click. Galen isn't in the room. He doesn't need to be. He built the room. I sign. I watch the signature settle into the paper. When I finish, I take my phone and open the hidden folder one last time. The frozen frame of the overhead footage stares back. Timestamp. His hand. Tobin's pocket. I don't watch it again. I don't punish myself with details I already know. I forward the file to my attorney's secure case system, one controlled destination, then lock my screen. One copy with counsel, one copy with me. No public release. It isn't mercy. It's containment. The last truth settles in my chest, heavy and plain. I can keep my child out of a scandal, but I can't keep my child out of being used. And Galen, calm, composed, campaign-ready, will keep walking toward the office he wants, carrying family values like a slogan. A question comes, colder than the others. If the only person the truth frees is the man who harmed you, is it still worth shouting? I stand. I slide the folder back across the glass. My ring stays where it is for a moment longer, catching daylight like a small, useless coin. Then I pick it up, close my hand around it, and walk out. Because the signature is done. And the marriage, whatever it was, doesn't exist on paper anymore. A new call's from a number I don't have saved. Her voice is quieter than it was in that corridor. Steady, anyway. "They fired me," she says. No pause for drama, just the fact. I'm in my kitchen, daylight pouring through expensive glass. The counter is pale stone, the kind that never stains. I'm barefoot on warm wood, still in a cream silk blouse that feels too delicate for what my life has become. For what? I ask, even though I already know. Privacy violation. She gives a short, humorless breath. They said it's policy. Policy. The word people use when they don't want to say obedience. I picture her in that uniform again. Black vest, white shirt, eyes steady. A worker who chose a child over a paycheck. What did he say? I ask. Anouk doesn't need me to name him. He said it's order. Order. Galen's favorite word. The one he wraps around cruelty so it looks like architecture. I go quiet long enough to hear the house settle. Then, I open a notes app and start writing. 2 lines, 3. Things I can still do in a world that now belongs to him in public. I can place you, I tell her. Not as charity, as cover. She doesn't thank me right away. People who've worked around wealth learn not to trust sudden generosity. I respect her for that. What kind of job? She asks, careful. Household manager, I say. And then, because I don't want her back in a room full of men with earpieces, or executive assistant. Quiet, stable, better money, better hours, no cameras. Her breath catches once, then steadies. Why are you doing this? I look at the pale stone counter, at my phone, at the silence I signed. Because you saw my son, I say. And you didn't look away. When we hang up, I don't feel redeemed. I feel awake. There's a difference. Months pass quietly. On paper, everything looks fine. On a bright Los Angeles morning, Tobin falls asleep on the sofa without meaning to. One sock has slipped halfway off his heel. His dark hair is a mess against the cushion. His face is soft again. 12 years old. Not a witness. Not an exhibit. In the kitchen, the TV plays at a volume meant for background. Galen's face fills the screen. The lighting on him is perfect. Warm. Forgiving. He's smiling the way men smile when the city belongs to them. Behind him, flags. Applause you can feel even with the sound low. I stand at the counter in an oversized sweater the color of oatmeal, sleeves pushed to my wrists. My hair is still pinned back, not for him anymore, just because I like my hands free. The house is immaculate, pale stone, clean lines, everything maintained. Galen begins his family values speech. He says the right words. He says them like they were written for him at birth. I watch Tobin's chest rise and fall in slow rhythm. Then I walk to the TV and rest my fingers on the volume button. My hand doesn't shake. I don't throw anything. I don't rage. I lower the sound until Galen's mouth moves in silence. That's what quiet extraction looks like, months later. A mother muting a mayor. A question drifts up, slow and unavoidable. When you keep the truth to protect your child, do you become complicit or simply maternal? I look at my son again, at the slipped sock, at the small body curled into safety he didn't earn and doesn't deserve to lose. And I let the room stay beautiful. Because beauty is what power uses to make harm look distant. The first time I held proof in my hands, it was a waitress's phone in a service corridor. Warm brass light, a locked door, and a timestamp that made my stomach go cold. Now, months later, the proof is a television. Perfect lighting, applause on cue, and my husband's smile filling the room as if it's his. Anouk paid for what?
She did. They fired her and called it privacy. They always call it privacy when they mean obedience. I met her somewhere quiet and placed a better job in front of her like a correction, not a gift. It didn't undo what happened. It just kept the cost from swallowing her too. And Galen never needed to prove I was dangerous. He only needed the right people to wonder if I might be. In this city, doubt travels faster than facts, and it wears better clothes. Tobin sleeps on the sofa while Galen's announcement plays, and I mute the television. Here's what I learned the hard way. Sometimes the choices are both ugly. You choose between harm that's loud and harm that's private, and you pray your child never learns the difference. So I'll ask it the way it actually felt. If you had that footage, his hand, your child's pocket, the timestamp, would you hit send? Or would you lock the truth away and let the city crown a liar? This is American Billionaire, tales where fortune meets fate. And in rooms like ours, silence can look an awful lot like stability. If this story left a bruise, leave your verdict in the comments. And keep close. The next story won't be kinder.